What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at Banshee, so let's see what we've got going on. Let's check it out. As promised, today we'll be taking a look at Banshee. So let's see what we've got going on. Taking a look at the package, we are inspired by giant size X-Men, right? There's your mini comic. He looks cool in there. Green and yellow costume, one that people have been really wanting an update for, right? We had that older one, and if you want to see that, I do believe it's in my comparison with the blue and yellow 3-pack version of Banshee, which we will see in this video later on. But that one certainly needed an upgrade. The blue and yellow has really been the nostalgic hold for me, just very reminiscent of the 90s for me. But I do have a giant size display, and this was certainly a figure that was missing in that display. So absolutely was looking forward to this one 100%, and am very happy that it is now here and it will have its representation on the shelf. Flip it to the back. We can get a look at the rest of the wave, your comics for the wave, your comic for the figure, important information at the bottom. There's your blurb. In Giant Size X-Men #1, Banshee agrees to help Professor Charles Xavier rescue the X-Men alongside a new team of mutant heroes. We'll do a quick card comparison. As you can see, these new retro cards are roughly the same size as most of your classic retro cards. Of course, that will exclude your Iron Man and Fantastic Four type cards. But let's get them out of the box. Fresh out of the box, this is exactly what you would expect. Now, if you have the blue and yellow suit Banshee, it's exactly what you would expect because it is a straight up repaint. I mean, I wouldn't expect it any other way, right? So that's not like a negative comment towards the figure. It is just a repaint of that one that we had received about 2 years ago, right? So you do get the extra hands, the extra heads. You probably only get two heads in this package because they are just reusing those same exact heads from that 3-pack Banshee, and I'll show that later on. My maybe upgrade suggestion would have been to give us a screaming sideburn head with this one, and then a more neutral face with the, I guess, more modern head sculpt, right? So it's something I would have liked to have seen, and I think a lot of people would have liked to see the screaming head on the sideburns, so it's maybe a bit of a miss here for this figure, but overall it's going to look good on the display. You've got some good options. It is a very nice representation of this classic Banshee. Let's take a closer look. Here's a look at your Giant Size X-Men #1 mini comic. So just so you have an idea of what that's like. Again, these do not open, but it does give you the cover art there. Moving in closer, we can get a look at the first head sculpt and the body here. Now, as I was saying, they are the same heads. You can see this is the alternate head that came with the blue and yellow suit version, and there they are together. Now, it is a slightly different plastic, it seems. It's a little bit, I guess, pinker than the 3-pack version, but not like in a way that detracts from the figure. Just a little bit different skin tone between the two of them. And here's a look at it with that 3-pack version head. You can see the skin tone difference between the neck and the face there. I do feel like the paint or plastic choices for the 3-pack version were a little bit better than the newer version. And then here is a look at your screaming head. So again, same thing. As I said, these are the same heads that were with the previous release of Banshee. You can see there, same screaming heads. Again, the 3-pack version just seems a little bit more detailed than this mini comic wave version. Still great head sculpts, but usually it's kind of the other way around, right? There are slight improvements going forward. The head sculpts on this Banshee seem to slightly backtrack, but Not a huge amount. They are still very nicely detailed head sculpts. As far as the winged cape pieces go, I didn't expect there to be any updates to this, right? They have the parts for the other one. They're going to reuse those parts, right? It absolutely makes sense. I would have loved to have seen a different material, though, because this material is not good, but I did not expect it. For your hands, you do get your set of fists. You do get a right open hand. You get a right trigger finger for some reason. And then you get your grasping hand, which will be useful for holding the comic. So that's been a running theme for these figures. They have an odd set of hands, and where they really throw it off is by tossing in that hand to hold the mini comic. Now, not necessarily a bad thing. I just feel like the trigger finger was a weird choice. I probably want maybe a flared hand or a different option there. Taking a look at the articulation, understanding that it will be the same as the 3-pack Banshee. Head will look down to there, just touching the chest. Collar doesn't get in the way in the front. Looking up, he does get some pretty good arch backwards. The collar does limit you just a little bit, but the collar is pretty malleable, so you can adjust that slightly. Plenty of movement around. You get some good rock in there as well, so you can get the head into some pretty good movement. You do have that butterfly there, which gives you some good back and forth. Now the arms will go up to about there. You're going to be limited by the winged cape there. And then back to about there, same thing. It's a fairly weak material, so easily rips. So I don't want to test it too far to the limit there. Upper bicep cut there, double jointed, pinless at the elbow. You see the cut for the forearm. That's just a byproduct of the buck. Hinge at the wrist. Ab crunch, hip swivel. Legs will kick up to about there. Again, they are attached at the leg, so you will have some slight hindrance and limited mobility without risking any damage. And then the legs do go up and out to there. Upper thigh cut, double jointed, pinless at the knee, boot cut, and your hinge and swivel at the ankle. For comparison, here he is backed up against our 3-pack Banshee. Obviously, they're going to be the same height. Not a ton of difference in the body itself. Heads are the same. So it really comes down to the color. The yellows are different. So if you were wondering about that, the yellow on the 3-pack version is a little bit deeper than the giant size X-Men version of Banshee here. Wing capes are the same material, same design, same everything. Alright folks, well there you have it. There is your Marvel Legends mini comic wave Banshee giant size X-Men inspired, right? So classic costume. Love that we have that. Love that it's an upgrade over that older figure for sure. If you already have Banshee and you don't want another Banshee, are you going to go out and get this? I don't know. It's really going to come down to your costume preference, right? But as I said earlier, the blue and yellow is more nostalgic for me, but I do have a giant size X-Men display that really needed this to fill that void. So I'm certainly happy that we have it now. I think for me, the only thing that I really wish was different for this figure is that we would have gotten the mutton chop head with a screaming face. Maybe even, just swap them like I mentioned earlier. But to get the exact same head sculpts, it does take away just a little bit, because that's the only reason we got 2 head sculpts in this package anyway. So having that classic look with the screaming option, I think really would have been the icing on the cake. And that's really the only thing that I feel like it needs, because otherwise it does a good job of representing what it's supposed to represent and looking like a good figure. Of course, I did mention the winged cape. That was a problem with the previous release. It's a problem with this one. It's odd that the even older Banshee had better material. So I don't know. It's not great, but it does look the part. Overall, it's a good figure though, so I'm happy to have it. It is certainly going to find a quick home in the display, and I think if it's one you've been holding out for, especially if you didn't get the 3-pack because it wasn't the version that you wanted for your display, then you will be happy with this figure in your collection. That's the 2 cents, folks. Do what you want with that information. I do appreciate you checking out the video. Of course, you can always find me on any of these socials down here. Most importantly, though, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe below. And until next time, take it easy.